Hi, it's Roger Hamilton again with your winning formula. How to make sure that you're always making the right decisions to keep you on your path and your genius in life. You've taken the genius test. You've found out which of the 4 geniuses you are. You would have seen some of the other videos on how to lead, how to learn using your genius, how to live, how to love. What I'm going to do now is bring all that together with a slightly different diagram. You would have seen all the different squares which allowed us to explain how the 4 different geniuses link to each other. And now I'm going to share with you how those 4 squares link to create a totally different shape, which is a star within a circle, which links to be able to create 5 different elements. And you'll find all of these within Chinese philosophies, the 5 Chinese elements. It links to the types of the parts of the body, it links to how spaces are organized, it links to the 5 planets. All these things are all linked together, and they have been for the last 5,000 years. We're going to see how this allows us to link to other people around us. So how does this link to this? And the reason it links is because if you look at this as a base of a pyramid, there's a 5th element that links all of them together. It's what Aristotle called quintessence, which is the 5th element, the 5th essence. And the way that he designed this and organized this was by showing that as a result of those 5, there were 4 that linked to time in terms of the 4 seasons. And there's a 5th which is beyond time, which is above time. And that's one that we call spirit. And spirit, whether it's about entrepreneurial spirit because you want to be in business, whether it's spirit in terms of your spirit of friendship because it's about your connections with friends around you. It's about something which is like what turns the light on. It's what allows everything to go bright. Just like if you look at lights on a ceiling, they don't look connected, but you know they are because they're on. And if at any point a light goes off, before you just go and replace the light, you might check the connection. Because for many of us, we end up disconnected, which means we don't get connected to that same spirit that we would be part of if we actually were following our winning formula. So this genius is about how we connect back to that energy again. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, by realizing that the 4 energies here, the 4 energies which are the 4 elements that make the geniuses, we can actually make these 4 here. So let's bring the geniuses back. Here's Dynamo genius. Dynamo, remember, we talk about is wood. So all the things we've talked about those people who are really creative, always starting new things, the dynamo geniuses, they know that that's all about spring energy. And then we move to summer energy, which is fire, because wood creates fire. There's a cycle here. And this is now talking about blaze geniuses who are just brilliant with people, and they love having fun. And then from here, the blaze energy, who don't have to be so good at the detail, because they're so good on the people side, in the same way that the dynamo geniuses don't have to be so good at the timing because they're so good at the creation side. We also have got these elements here, which is the tempo genius, which is now the fire selling to earth. And then we have the steel genius, which is now talking about metal because that's where we find the metal. And this allows this one here, which we call spirit, which is water. And water, as the same way that we said here, this is all about glow. This is glow. This is grow. This is slow. And then know, the one which we find within this element here, is flow. And of course, everything we've been talking about is about flow. It's about how we make sure that we connect it up so that we actually cycle up. And another way to look at this is as a spiral, because you're moving up to the next level. So as you start to spiral up, we start to find that our genius allows us to get to a higher level of spirit, of experience in the world. And for many of us that have got stuck, the only reason is that we weren't following the spiral staircase. So your winning formula allows you to start spiraling up in the things that you're focusing at, whether it's the way you lead. So we've all gone through already the way that you lead most effectively, the way you learn, which allows you to be able to bring on more information, the way you live so that everything you're doing is now fit into as your particular genius, and the way you love so that you're actually bringing the things that you love around you, whether it's the people, whether it's the experiences. So as a result, you just start moving in this cycle and you start flowing up to a higher level. Every one of these different steps has got its own winning formula. So let's talk about what that winning formula is. First of all, we know that the winning formula on wood dynamo is something called creation, because it's things that allow you to grow. So if you're there as a dynamo genius and you're in a situation where in a team, it's like, well, what should I be focused at? What should I be trying to do? Think about it from the point of view of creating. Like, what am I doing to move things forward? And there's a particular way of seeing things when you're doing this, which is a type of vision, which is called perspective. Perspective is about depth of vision. Perspective is about being able to see the future. Like, what would we be doing this time next year? You can vision that as a genius, as Dynamo Genius, much more easily than anybody else can. So you can actually be of real value there, and that's your winning formula. You can actually see in a way forward that you can't necessarily see all around you. Because people around you, the ones who are more the tempo energy, here, if we take perspective as a type of vision here, you'll see that the opposite down here is something called perception. That is the winning formula of a tempo energy, which is perception, which is about consultation. It's about how you're bringing others into the picture as well. And if we would look at this a little bit like your focus and attention, like a garden hose. Okay, if you actually tighten it as a jet, so it just goes real far, that is like Dynamo Genius. It can go a real long way, but it's not going to reach a lot around it, right? I had a mentor once who was Dynamo Genius. You know how they often say, like with people who are very scatty, that they don't even remember to wear the same color socks, right? Well, I remember once he came down I went to see him as a mentor when I was in my 20s, and he came down to breakfast one day, and he not only had odd colored socks on, he looked down and he goes, oh, I've worn odd shoes again. It's like when you're at this point here, you can't actually see everything around you, whereas here, perception is about seeing all of it, which is why they're so sensory. It's why they're so good at even things like trading, because it's about not one big jet, it's about the garden hose with a sprinkler. So this is about sprinkle energy, which is very, very different. And then we also have got the two winning formulas here and here. We have as you go to wood to fire, then we end up with this energy here, which is called communication, because it's about how you now spread that out to a wider group. And this has got a different type of vision. It's actually a vision which is linked to fun, which it's actually a vision which is called color. Because color is about the fact that you're actually bringing the color of life into whatever the creation is. And the opposite of that on this side, you think about this. Think about taking photography. You go to anyone who wants to get the clearest photos, they'll do it in black and white. Right? So this on this side is clarity. And the vision that the people who are steel geniuses bring in is clarity, which comes as a result not of a particular vision here which brings communication, but a particular vision which brings calculation. That is their winning formula. And it's a little bit like a warm garden hose as opposed to a cool garden hose. They were actually able to kind of cool things down, or we're able to warm things up. We're able to actually make things reach further. We're able to actually widen our reach. And you can't do all of it at the same time, obviously, which is why having the right geniuses at the right time allow you to be able to experience all of life. We all have a winning formula. We all have a way to spiral up. And the most important thing to understand is it's not just about following your formula. Because think about this. If you were to go into a river and you were to be moving, it doesn't necessarily mean you're in flow. Because rivers have things called eddy currents. That's those little spots where things go round and round and round. And you know in life if you're in an eddy current. Because if you're in an eddy current, you wake up tomorrow morning and you're still not living your perfect life, and you're going to do it all over again. That's an eddy current. That means you're just going round and round. And how do you get out of an eddy current? You get to the fourth question, which is not the question what or who or when or how. It's the question why. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? When you ask the question why, you get to flow at a higher level. You actually allow yourself to move up to a higher level as well, which is not about sight. Vision is sight. It's the fifth element here, which is insight. It's getting new insight about yourselves, where as you start to follow your winning formula, you actually say, why is it that just happened? And why is it that just happened? And you start getting that meaning which allows you to flow up to a higher level. That's what I mean by winning formula in all of the things we mentioned earlier, in how you lead and how you love, in how you live your life. And what's most important about this is knowing that how you go about building your career, the things that you do with your time in all aspects, whether it's online, whether it's in front of people, whether it's in actually the quiet moments when you're on your own. In all of these elements, it still comes down to one thing, which is you have a genius. And when you turn your genius on, you light up. And when you light up, you can light up the world.